The Bitcoin Group, the American original. For over the last 10 seconds, the Bitcoins, the hardest cryptocurrency talk. We'd like to welcome our panelists. Simon Dixon from Bank to the Future.
Hello, I'm in from normally in Hong Kong, Asia. You caught me in London, so the time zones worked and I'm here. Grateful to be here.
Jeffrey Jones from the Bitcoin News Show.
Hello, everybody, and it's great to see Simon on the Bitcoin Group for the first time.
And I'm Thomas Hunt from the World Crypto Network. Moving on to issue 1, Bitcoin price, correction, and recovery. The price of Bitcoin declined from a high of $19,000 almost down to $9,222, an incredible drop, and it happened in only a week. The price then recovered to around $11,000 or $12,000, if you call that recovery, and if you think it's over. No one knows right now if the price will go up or down. Simon Dixon, what are your thoughts on the Bitcoin's recent correction?
Well, I think it was much needed, and I'm quite happy for it. While it's always painful seeing something, go down 50%. For those of us that have been around for a while, we've seen quite a few of these over the years. It's not the price of Bitcoin was approximately, like, I remember it was under $1,000. Was it just a year ago or something? And then we had this parabolic increase in this crazy year. Where it just seemed like it was going up and up and up, and every time we had some news, you get these major corrections like the China ban, but it continued at its upward trend, and that brought a lot of newbies, which is great for the industry because we've got a lot of new people in over the last year. The price tends to attract the attention, and the attention tends to drive new people in, but none of them have experienced a bear market. So I think it's quite healthy for the ecosystem to experience that you can actually, well, if you're traders, you can certainly lose a load of money. If you're hodlers, this isn't really a problem. We're kind of used to it. But those that are new to the industry and new to the hodling strategy, then you're going to experience your first major correction. And those that come out the other end, I'm sure will be rewarded. It's kind of a healthy thing. The last time we had a bear market, we had a lot of technological innovation. Bitcoin is ready for lots and lots of technical innovation. And sometimes you need the price to, stop getting the headline. I mean, well, it gets the headlines for the bear market, whatever it does. But sometimes you need the price increase to kind of not drive the adoption as much as new technology. So it's perfectly healthy. It's perfectly normal. If you create a digital scarce asset, which is a new asset class, a new technology, a new currency, and many of the other things that it's becoming now, then with the fixed supply, you're going to get a lot of volatility along the way. So it's kind of good to see. At the same time, I fully expect a full recovery and new highs. I don't know how long that will take. I don't care how long it takes, but I'm sure we'll get there.
Jeffrey Jones, do you agree? Is this just baby's first market correction, or is something wrong with Bitcoin?
Yes, it is time for newbies to be baptized in the fire, into the flames of Bitcoin corrections. I think, there was a lot of Ponzi schemes out there. There was a lot of stuff that needed to be weeded out with a correction like this, and that's exactly what happened. So this is very, very healthy, extremely healthy. And it was expected. We were Tone Vays and a lot of other traders were really kind of expecting, have been expecting the correction from around 5K or so. And then we just kind of shot up to 10 and then bam, shot up to 20. So we went kind of parabolic there. And so that correction was absolutely expected. And again, extremely healthy for the long term of Bitcoin, because again, if you look at it on a logarithmic chart, I mean, you could see we're still in a bull run. We've never left the bull run. Bitcoin is one long big bull run with like a few coffee breaks, I think, in between. So we're, as Simon said, we're fully expecting this to recover and in almost no time. And remember, we only crashed back down to what we had, 11K. 11K. If you would have said 6 months ago that we're gonna crash back down to 11K, holy smokes, I would have been I would have been ecstatic. I'd have been sweet. Bring on that crash. You know, but look, people see these numbers like 20K crash down to, you know, 10K, and they're like, oh my God, 50% drop, you know, but of course, in reality, we went up thousands of percent. So in reality, it was just a teeny little correction. You know, it all depends on how far you look at the timetables and things like that. But at the end of the day, absolutely happy to see this. And we you know, we're going to go sideways here for a little bit, but I fully expect us to before maybe as early as February even to start seeing new all-time highs again, if not for sure sometime in Q1.
Definitely like to ask all of our viewers to give us a thumbs up and a share. That really helps other people find the show. If it's your first time here, please subscribe down below. Moving on to the exit question. Is the correction over, or will we see more red next week? Simon Dixon.
We could do it, wouldn't surprise me, but I think that this is the opportunity for a lot of people that missed the boat to accumulate some Bitcoins. I think there's a lot of accumulators out there. I think the institutions have been waiting for their opportunities to accumulate. So I'd expect more accumulation, a lot of support, and yeah, I don't expect it to go much lower. It could do, but there's so much buy volume out there.
Jeffrey Jones.
Yeah, anything is possible, of course. In Bitcoin, you have to be ready for this. But look, everybody was looking for, when we were at the 20K, you know, everybody was looking for a dip. Everybody was looking for an opportunity to buy. And everybody is always, every time, like, I'm going to buy on that dip. I'm definitely going to buy on that dip. And then the whole thing crashes. Everybody gets super scared and they panic sell, right? And, and they don't wait to buy until we go back up to 20K again. So, you know, very powerful, standard human psychological behavior here. But I'd say we're going to probably I'd say this is probably the bottom.
Well, it's like Kipling said in his epic poem, If you can keep your head when all those around you are losing theirs. And that's why it's so hard to buy the dip. You see it going down, you see it going red. A lot of times you'll buy the dip and you'll end up catching a falling knife, saying that you buy at 10,000 and it goes to 7 and it goes to 5 and you're just holding on for the ride. But that's what risk is about. That's what this is about, risk and reward and gambling. Moving on to issue 2. Bitconnect. Bitconnect, which has been accused of running a Ponzi scheme, had some kind of a lending website where, in the classic Ponzi method, the new money pays for the old money. Old money invests and then is paid off allegedly from the investments, but actually from the new money. They're saying allegedly that Bitconnect ran a Ponzi scheme, causing the next day their price went down 90%. They lost 90% of their value and shut down their lending website. Jeffrey Jones, why does this keep happening? Why do we keep seeing alleged Ponzi schemes, alleged tulip schemes, alleged bubble schemes, all these other schemes in Bitcoin?
Well, we don't just see these Ponzi schemes in Bitcoin, right? We see them everywhere. We see them, in fact, we have been seeing them for thousands of years, right? The only difference here is that fiat is the ultimate Ponzi scheme itself, right? Where at least in crypto we have some projects like Bitcoin that isn't a Ponzi scheme, and so it's a tale as old as time, right? A fool and his money will soon be parted. So this is going to not stop anytime soon, and we're with these huge bull market runs of all these ICOs and coins going up thousands of percent. You're absolutely going to see a few Ponzi schemes in there, which again is why, you know, both Simon and I stated that this was a healthy correction. We have to weed out these types of Ponzi schemes like Bitconnect and many others, and you know, it's not going to stop. We're going to see a lot more before the end of it, but it's just really, really important to pay attention to, you know, intelligent people in the space. Pay attention to the people that are doing things in the space. Pay attention to people like Simon Dixon. You know, these are the type of people that you want to get your information from. People who are in the space, people who have been in the space for years and years and have built provable, you know, profitable companies that are proven to not be Ponzi's or scams, right? So it all depends. It just makes all the difference in the world who you pay attention to, who you listen to. Do your own research. It's going to be absolutely more and more important every second of every day as crypto continues to go higher and higher and higher. We will see a multi-trillion-dollar market this year. You know, market cap by the end of the year. So there will be a lot more Ponzi schemes. So please, guys, you know, please educate yourself. If you know people that are new to the space, send them over here to World Crypto Network. Make sure they follow people like us and Simon Dixon and many others, and hopefully they'll still steer clear.
Simon Dixon, same question. Why does Bitcoin have all of these Ponzi schemes or alleged Ponzi schemes? What can we do about them?
Well, I think it's because in Bitcoin's history, we have actually had exponential returns. So those that have actually been involved in Bitcoin and accumulating Bitcoin, they have had subnormal returns just from holding Bitcoin. And so therefore, a lot of people take advantage of that. There's the other effect is that this is so new to so many people. And people can take advantage of the technical jargon, the financial jargon, the fact that Bitcoin, and Ethereum and other things had produced those kinds of returns for people holding them. And then people can come along and just create some new technology, confuse people in jargon, confuse people in technical speak and blockchain this and all these different words. And it's all very confusing for all these new people, because it takes a few years to really get to grips with some of the concepts behind what makes Bitcoin work. The Bitconnect one is, it's just a classic story. I think everyone saw it coming. Bitconnect to me was something that only came on the radar after Bitcoin Cash launched with the ticker BCC, which Bitconnect was using. And so I think it got everyone's attention. And I think, I haven't looked at the history, I haven't looked at it too much, but from that moment on, once Bitcoin Cash launched with the ticker BCC, the price had a big, huge spike. People started getting attention, and then they started going on a massive advertising campaign, and all of a sudden, all these retargeting ads were coming up, and wherever I went, it was 1% returns from lending this, and 1% daily returns, that is. It is technical jargon along with financial misunderstanding. 1% daily returns has never existed, will never exist, and is never ever going to happen. So if you see these, and then you combine it with a load of people trying to earn affiliate incomes and multi-level marketing, and everyone tweeting about it and YouTube comments and all that stuff, and you just seem to get this again and again and again. It's not the first. We will see more, but it's great to see that Bitcoin has a tumble and you get a 90% correction in scams and things like this. The interesting thing is probably people know that it's a scam. Coins never die, and probably people are trying to call the bottom right now and trying to make some returns on the way up as well if it gets some kind of rebound. But as long as people know that, as long as people know they're trading scams, as long as people know that these returns don't exist, and as long as people understand that they're investing into Ponzi schemes, and then there's no different from gambling. You can play that. My fear is that most people don't know and they actually think that returns exist.
1% daily returns. That's a great deal. That's like a penny that doubles every day. And if something seems too good to be true, you have to assume it's not true. Another red flag is when they're advertising the percentage of return in advance. Nobody knows how well or how bad an investment's going to go, but if they're promising it to you, it's probably not a good sign. Jeffrey Jones, exit question. How can we prevent these Ponzi's? Is there anything Bitcoiners can do? Our friends get into them. Our family get into them. People get excited to you. A week ago, we probably could have found someone easily to pitch us some Bitconnect and tell us how good a service it was. Now we can't find anybody at all.
Yep. These price corrections were huge and gouging to the most Ponziest of the coins, right? Like Ripple, like Bitconnect. And I guess the biggest thing I can say is education is paramount. Absolutely paramount in any space, but specifically financial types of spaces, and specifically brand new financial types of spaces like crypto. So it is, it's the risk is crazy. Like Simon said, there had been some people that have had legitimate 1,000% returns and such like that. So people get it's really easy to confuse people because they know it's out there. So when somebody promises it to them, it's even an even stronger pull to what if, what if I win the lottery? And these freaking ads, man, these Bitconnect ads are everywhere. That's just the #1 red flag. If you see a cryptocurrency or an ICO advertising all over the internet, that is your sign to never touch it, to not touch it with a 10-foot pole. Real projects don't advertise like that. I mean, at least not in the beginning, before they got any code written. Bitcoin has never advertised. We had a couple cool things like the Bitcoin Bowl, right, that BitPay did back in the early days, a few things like that. But Bitcoin doesn't advertise because Bitcoin doesn't need to advertise. Bitcoin is the utility by itself is enough for the advertisement. If the utility is not the advertisement, then there's not a whole lot of legs to stand on for that token.
Excellent points. Simon, anything we can do to stop these Ponzi schemes in the future?
It's a really tricky question. It's a question of doing what you guys are already doing, educating people. People need to learn a lot. And sometimes the best education is actually investing into a Ponzi scheme and maybe finding Bitcoin at the other side. So my belief is that a lot of people would have got into Bitconnect because someone had an affiliate income and some MLM or something. They've entered the market, unfortunately. I mean, maybe they made returns and now they're who knows what's going to happen there. But my advice to people is just because you actually fall into one of these Ponzi schemes, take that as your education, take that as the school of hard knocks, learn the lesson. And maybe the best thing that could have happened is you entered this sector. You might have learned a few things. Maybe you start looking at more conservative strategies. And you start looking at some of the other things in this industry, and then you never know that if you continue along this line, you might be protected in the next financial crisis when you realize you're holding some Bitcoin and other people aren't, and then pass the education on. So my only advice is that we all get scammed. I've been scammed. It happens to all of us, but it's kind of how you react from here and where you take it next. It could be the greatest thing that happened to you or the worst thing that happened to you.
And if you did lose a lot of money from Bitconnect, or maybe you lost a lot of money in the Bitcoin downturn and you don't want to wait for the upturn, if you feel bad and you need help, please contact the Suicide Prevention Hotline. There are people out there who can talk to you, who can help you understand that it'll get better. And even though you might have lost your nest egg or all of your investment or all of your savings, it's forgivable. We all make mistakes, and there are ways out of this. Not great ways, but they can help you pay that back over time, and other solutions. And there are other investments. Don't give up on investing, because that can help too. We'd like to thank everybody for giving us a thumbs up and a share. We're up to 580 viewers. We almost doubled thanks to you giving those thumbs up. It really helps YouTube figure out which shows to promote, which shows are good shows. We're going to move on to issue 3, Blockstream conspiracy. A lot of people have been curious about the Blockstream company. Blockstream, one of the major developers in the Bitcoin ecosystem, also employs several Bitcoin core developers. They've said that Blockstream was founded and funded by an insurance company called AXA, and that perhaps they're influencing the company with their evil insurance money. This theory is now up for grabs as Gregory Maxwell, one of the major Bitcoin developers to work at Blockstream, has announced that he's moving on. He's moving on to pure Bitcoin development, something we might see more of the future as more and more Bitcoin developers, because of their Bitcoin investments, are likely free from jobs and normal cares and can work on the project that they believe in. Jeffrey Jones, what are your thoughts about the Blockstream conspiracy? And is it a good thing, both for Blockstream and for Bitcoin, that Gregory Maxwell is moving on to full-time Bitcoin development?
Yeah, the AXA thing has been debunked so many times at this point. The Bcash people continue to bring it up, even though it's been debunked over and over again for years. I mean, the AXA insurance company has a lot of companies that they insure, and I don't remember any other time where an insurance company had a say in what a regular company, the regular day goings on. Every major company, for example, in Silicon Valley, has insurance to some degree. Do they dictate what code they can write? No. Last time I checked, I didn't see Geico, telling Google what to do. So it's just a completely ludicrous type of theory, and one only a Bcash supporter could get behind. And yeah, it's really crazy. Like I said, just listen to smart people, listen to people like Tone Vase and other people, and they'll tell you. I mean, you know what? In fact, don't even listen to those people. Go right to the source. Right? These people are all have social media profiles like Gregory Maxwell and such. He's on Reddit. Many others are on Twitter. Follow these people, and you can see their amazing work. I mean, if you already didn't know them from before, because they're cited in a million bazillion papers everywhere, but still, follow their work, and you'll see the amazing amount of stuff that these people have done. And also, shout out to again to Andrew DeSantis for the website Bitcoin.team. Everybody needs to check that out at Bitcoin.team, and you will be able to see exactly who worked on what with Bitcoin. And you can see Gregory Maxwell did a good share. He's a pretty smart guy. There's a reason why he's absolutely looked up to into the industry. There's a reason why every single intern under him will remember it for the rest of their life. This guy is an industry leader in his field. And so it's actually really a relief to see him not have to, slave away at the days at Blockstream at being a CTO, right? Managing people, managing all this seemingly transient type of stuff, right? When the real thing that's important is Bitcoin, right? So I can just picture him now, like telling people one more time, nope, we have to use spaces in our brackets, in the code, instead of like having to actually work on real cool stuff that gets him up in the morning, stuff that first thing you think about when you wake up. And this is, again, how many people who are enthusiastic about Bitcoin think about this is the first thing we think about when we get up. And I'm sure Gregory Maxwell is no different. So absolutely ecstatic and happy to see him be able to go on and do what he really wants to do, which is work on Bitcoin 24/7, right? So absolutely great. Maybe I even hope that he appears at less conferences too, because, for Blockstream, he had to kind of go to a couple conferences as well. And now that he doesn't have to work there, he can just really go at it all the time now on Bitcoin. And so we wish him the absolute best, and look forward to seeing what he's going to create in the future.
I just hope he employs some time management software to keep him off of Reddit and focused on his real problems. And Jeff brings up a great point of spaces versus tabs and the endless debate in programming. A little joke from Silicon Valley recently. Simon, what are your thoughts? Is there a great Blockstream conspiracy? Does Gregory Maxwell leaving end the Blockstream conspiracy?
I do actually feel a little bit of responsibility for this whole AXA. They say it's AXA, but it's AXA. It's a UK insurance company. And I remember I think it was this show when people were talking, Tony Vase was on it, and everyone was discussing who are the investors behind Blockstream. Well, I happened to be invited by someone that was actually managing the round for the Blockstream funding round. They were the ones that did the introduction that got AXA into the funding round. And then when Tony Vase was asking about which, because before people knew it was AXA, everyone was saying it was banks that were funding it. So then I tweeted Tony Vase that it was AXA, who's not actually a bank; it's a insurance company. And then from there, the everything went a bit wild when I think Tony Vase covered it or something. A little bit of responsibility for that one, but anyway, before they were talking about who the actual investors were, it was all being rumored to be different banks and financial institutions.
It's pretty bad when they say who started that rumor and you have to raise your hand. I started it. But what do you think about the rumor? Did AXA have 100% of the round? Did they have say? Did they get a board seat? Was this the greatest purchase of all time?
AXA were a significant part of the round, and they got a decent position in the round, but the valuations were very high anyway, because the team that are behind Blockstream are a very, very accomplished team. This thing about how we fund Bitcoin developers has just been a constant theme since the beginning, really, and Blockstream weren't the first to do it. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe BitPay were the first to actually hire core developers. Was it Jeff Garzik? I can't remember if it was Jeff or.
Well, it certainly wasn't Coinbase.
Yeah. And back in the day, when there wasn't really much money in this sector and there wasn't really much going on, it was kind of like the company's duty to, be a good Samaritan and try and hire a core developer, and that was kind of the culture that was taken through. But then obviously the market went into billions of dollars of market cap, and then tens of billions, and then hundreds of billions. And so, I kind of see two sides to this story. I really believe in the team. I'm grateful for the core team. But I do think that just like mining centralization is a bit of a problem, there is a problem when you have too many of the core developers working for one company. And there's not a problem in that it means that Bitcoin is not decentralized, because the scaling debate has proven for 3 years that Bitcoin absolutely is decentralized, because the miners tried to gain control of it, they couldn't get their way. The developers tried to say this is a path forward, they couldn't get their way. The developers had their internal challenges about what the path forward was. Then the businesses all tried to collude together and get their way, and they just couldn't get their way. So overall, Bitcoin is decentralized, but I see that there's obviously improvements that can be made to make it more decentralized and more powerful in the future. And the fact that China might be having their crackdown on mining is a good thing in order to push forward more decentralization in China. And the fact that the core developers are becoming wealthy because they back the same thing that they were developing means that they have more independence, and they can and we can have less centralization in the mining process. Then that's all a step forward. And I think that the fact that Greg Maxwell is doing this is everyone will create conspiracy theories if he stays or leaves. That's just the nature of this. It's a very skeptical audience, and I celebrate the fact that it is a skeptical audience, because that's what's made this industry what it is today. The fact that the whatever you do, whatever action you take, someone will call you your bullshit and hold you to a higher standard. It's kind of the collective chaos that's made Bitcoin what it is today, and so exciting to be involved with. But I think this is a good step forward, and another step forward in the chapter of Bitcoin becoming more decentralized, even though it already is the most decentralized thing that we have. But we've got improvements of these pockets of semi-centralization, and this is a good step forward.
I think Simon brings up a good point about Bitcoin, the storage token, the token of value on the network. Previous projects like this have had a problem they call the tragedy of the commons. Everyone wants these open source development projects, but no one can pay the developers to work on them. So eventually they go out and they fail. What's neat about Bitcoin is, like you're saying, at first, it was the company's responsibility to try to improve these commons. But now we've seen it expand where presumably Greg Maxwell has enough money saved up that he doesn't have to worry about working, and he can work on his own project and spend his time how he wants to and spend it improving Bitcoin. This solves the solution for now, but will it solve it long term? Jeffrey Jones, can we continue to count on Bitcoin riches leading to Bitcoin development, or is there a second generation problem here?
So yeah, no, I don't think there's a problem at all. I mean, remember, Gregory specifically said in his exit letter on the mailing list, basically, that he now doesn't have to worry about good Bitcoin development being funded. That was the whole reason Blockstream started in the first place, right? So the whole idea behind Blockstream getting started was to be able to fund full-time Bitcoin development, be able to fund it, right? Because somebody has to eat. In order, you have to eat while at the same time that you work, right? So you have to be able to support good development, and that was just something that Gregory and many other people at Blockstream were absolutely worried about, and with good reason. But now Gregory is, as he should be, is absolutely comfortable with the space. He absolutely believes that there is plenty of funding now to go around to fund good developers. I mean, we got people everywhere, right? Like Chain Code, Blockstream, a bunch of other places have all contributed. Even Coinbase have all contributed to core development and to open source projects within Bitcoin. So I have to agree with Gregory. There's no shortage of funding right now for Bitcoin developers, and with the price where it is, they almost don't even need funding anymore. And this is going to continue. So to answer your question, yeah, I think that both are going to allow the continued development of Bitcoin, both getting traditional means of funding like Blockstream did, and the ever rising price of Bitcoin. The utility continues to rise, so the price will continue to rise. So it'll create all of these positive feedback loops. All these hamster wheels start spinning one after the other as we approach higher and higher prices. And yeah, I'm just extremely happy with the development in the space right now.
All right, moving on to the exit question. I believe we've set the Blockstream conspiracy to rest. However, let's say something nice about them. Which one of Blockstream's projects excites you the most? Their plan to have satellite Bitcoin, allowing anyone in the world to check their balance and see if their transactions went through. Their plan for liquid and side chains, presumably ICO like tokens connected to the Bitcoin network, or liquid allowing banks and exchanges to transmit funds to each other, or their recently announced Lightning App Store, some kind of an app store type thing where you could develop Lightning applications. Simon Dixon, what excites you the most about Blockstream's new projects?
Well, the one that excites me the least would be the one that helps banks make transfers. So that's just something that does not excite me in the slightest. But hey, each to their own. And Bitcoin is something that anyone can use, and that means banks can use it, and governments can use it, and whoever wants to use it can use it. But of that, the satellite one actually really does fascinate me, because it's always been a constant one of the gold bugs, and all these people have always had these objections of the same old thing that we've always heard about Bitcoin, all the same old objections. It's just used for crime. What if the internet goes down? And the fact that if Bitcoin can still work through some kind of satellite system, then I think that is a really, really powerful, interesting project. And I don't know even who has the capabilities to do that. So I think Blockstream are the perfect team to be able to bring something like that to market. I think it's an important project, and it's kind of like one of those long-term projects that no one's probably going to actually achieve or work on. So you need some real, some really great minds and long-term thinkers to be able to pull something like that off. So that really excites me, and of course, a lot of the innovation that we could come from a Lightning App Store. That's all exciting. It's all really good stuff.
Jeffrey Jones.
So, there's just so many exciting things in the space. Blockstream specifically, I mean, that satellite project, I still think people are underestimating how it looks like I was frozen there. Am I back?
I think we're back.
Okay,
Felt like a
sorry about
disconnect. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
it was disconnected there. I'll add my lower third in a second. I was disconnected. Thank you, Google. But yes, no. Sorry, what was the question, Thomas?
We were talking about good things from Blockstream, talking about the satellites.
The satellites really, people are going to, they're, in my opinion, still underestimating how important these Blockstream satellites are, because Bitcoin, the whole point of it is the decentralized censorship resistant part of it. That's the big thing that ties Bitcoin together. And anything that can help that is what excites me. And so these satellites are a testament to that. They really are, obviously they're still not, for example, 100% owned by Blockstream, right? Or things like that. It's not the most best decentralized way. I would have liked to seen other technology instead of using other satellites and things like that. That people rent and things. But hey, this is much better, because now we don't have to worry about internet service providers, kind of screwing us over, right? Or censoring our Bitcoin transactions. Also, remember that there's a lot of people in third world countries that could benefit from this, who maybe don't have very good internet connection, but now can just, beam right from the satellites. And remember, their coverage is going to cover the whole planet once they're done with this. So they've only just begun. They just started on this. This is they only have a little bit of coverage right now, but full coverage is coming. And if I had to take a guess, I'd say eventually, the upstream is coming too, because right now it's just a broadcast, just a downstream. But I believe that one day you'll be able to also have an upstream with that as well, be able to connect and send. So send and receive through those satellite connections. But Bitcoin is going to continue its path to anti-fragility.
I do agree. I worry about the satellites being rented. It seems pretty obvious that the people you rent it from could eventually say, oh, you're doing Bitcoin on there, you have to stop. But then there's a higher level of, what if the Bitcoin satellites were just split out by themselves, and an angry rogue government or rogue corporation could hunt them down and destroy them? There's an advantage to being on an existing communication satellite, where they'd have to wreck their own satellite to take down your Bitcoin network. But again, we're into a lot of game theory and a lot of space theory at that point. I want to stick up for the other projects. I'm excited by the Lightning App Store. I think that's a good idea. It's again, there's a conspiracy theory possibility. The Apple App Store has worked really well for Apple. They get a lot of funds from a lot of programmers. But again, they set up this App Store concept, and it led to a lot of apps. We have more apps than we used to have. If we have more Lightning apps than we used to have, it's a good thing for everyone, I think. And also the liquid sidechains in general, maybe even RSK smart contracts. A lot of people lament that Bitcoin can't directly compete with Ethereum and offer the ICOs and offer these questionable financial vehicles. And whether we like it or not, Bitcoin's probably going to directly compete with Ethereum too. So I don't know if it'd be the liquid sidechain or with the RSK rootstock smart contracts. Either way, like Jeff and Simon said, there's a lot of great development going on in Bitcoin, not just the Lightning Network or the things that get the attention. And it's more excitement with Gregory Maxwell set loose and set free to work on what he wants to. We're going to move on to issue 4. Issue 4, Asia wrap-up. We keep seeing this. Joseph Young, the lone warrior from South Korea, fighting against the mainstream media. Reuters news says that South Korea is considering shutting down their domestic cryptocurrency exchanges. Joseph argues against this, saying that it's edging on cryptocurrency market manipulation, not just irresponsible reporting. According to Joseph's reporting from South Korea directly, OKCoin and Hubai are launching in South Korea this year. The government is considering Bitcoin futures. There's 10 more exchanges launching in Korea, and there's been a passionate debate about public blockchains versus permission blockchains on national television. It doesn't look like South Korea is banning Bitcoin anytime soon, although the mainstream media keeps reporting it. We've also had reports of China shutting down Bitcoin miners because of the electricity, shutting down and cracking down on the exchanges, closing the over-the-counter exchanges as a part of their previous efforts to close the ICOs and to close the local Chinese Bitcoin exchanges. Of course, the Chinese people are just getting around these exchange closers and perhaps trading in India, Japan, South Korea, other countries as the crackdown continues. Simon Dixon, your thoughts on the China and South Korea situations?
So 2 places I spent a lot of time. I was in South Korea recently, meeting many of the community out there, and living in Hong Kong. I spent a lot of time in China last year as well. So on the ground, I don't see any of this stuff. I know that I've met many of the CEOs of the exchanges out there, and the government, of course, as this. This is doing so much volume in Korea. It's a speculative frenzy in Korea. And it's kind of, Korea's following a lot of the same path that China went through, where, it finds this new asset class. It's got a lot of speculators coming in, and there's a lack of regulations, and therefore there's probably a lot of wash trading. There's, I guess this time you don't really need fake volume. Before you needed fake volume. But now there is so much real volume that probably don't even need the fake volume anymore. And then as these products get more sophisticated, you then start to get derivatives, and then they start to look like more traditional financial products. And then they kind of merge into the regulated field, and then you've got all the challenges that come along with that. And at the end of it, and I still believe the same will happen in China, you will end up with exchanges that in these 2-tiered markets. You're going to have a 2-tiered market. Bitcoin has its fully, decentralized peer-to-peer, fairly complicated, bad user experience in order to use Bitcoin the way it was designed and intended. But most people go on the on-ramps through the regulated institution. And so they have to do their KYC, they have to upload their documents, they have to take some fiat. They then have to get on board of Bitcoin, and they probably first log in and realize that Ripple's a lot cheaper, and they might make a load of money out of Ripple or lose a load of money. But in the end, they end up with Bitcoin. And then at some point, the exchange starts to put all these, these nasty processes in board, because the government's forcing them to put all these nasty processes that make the user experience a lot worse. And then eventually either the exchange gets hacked or shut down, or something happens, and then people actually take out their Bitcoins and then they use it the way it was intended. They put it onto a Trezor. They go through this natural learning path and this learning experience, and eventually a percentage of them that were just here for the speculation just disappear. Or at the end of it, after their speculation, they end up putting some Bitcoins on a Trezor wallet, on a hardware wallet, and that kind of drives adoption. It's just the same cycle that we're getting, and nowhere is that greater in China and in South Korea. But I think people are following the path of Japan, and I think Japan has led the way. Japan's shown the way. The Japanese government, recognize that this asset class is not going away. We can either fight it or we can embrace it. And if we embrace it, we can charge tax on the regulated side, and at least we won't get left behind. And I think every country is going to eventually get there, where they realize, well, we either just get rid of it and the market goes somewhere else, or we embrace it and we're able to tax on the regulated side, and it keeps governments and currencies more honest, because they're now competing with the unregulated, decentralized side, and they have to create a better user experience in order to compete with the decentralized and unregulated side, and consumers have more choice. So it's just a positive thing. Whether it's barred or not, well, that might create some short-term corrections, might take some Korean won out of the market, but all I saw in China is everyone, figuring out how they can continue in this market in a different way. And the people that weren't believers and didn't get past the speculation left the market, and they'll probably come back once their financial institution or there's more systemic risk in their traditional money, and they realize, hold on, that thing that I was doing with Bitcoin, apparently there's a way of actually owning your own money, spending your own money, and it's got some economic policy that makes it sound money over the long term. So we just see this cycle again and again and again, and whether there's truth to this or not, I haven't seen it. But that's not saying that the governments can't just shut down those exchanges tomorrow, and all the businesses moves to the next place, then go Singapore or Hong Kong, or it all moves to Japan in the end, and Japan just dominates the world, pays off their national debt because they supported this industry when no one else would. We'll see.
All right. Jeffrey Jones, do you agree with Simon Dixon? Has the Asian regulation driven more people into hardware wallets and proper ownership as they realize that these exchanges are the points that can be shut down?
So I think it has done that. But in addition, even more so and more importantly, it has really driven attention to decentralized exchanges. I think I've been saying this since late last year, pretty much, that decentralized exchanges are going to be absolutely huge this year in 2018. People are fed up with decentralized exchanges and being central failure points. There's been too many hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of millions, probably billions at this point, lost. And we know that that's not going to slow down. We know that that would only speed up if we kept this current model. And, it's a shame that the cycle exists like Simon described it. People first get into these altcoins and this craziness, and they hear about Bitcoin, but then instead of Bitcoin, because it's too expensive, they have unit bias and go and buy Ripple and stuff instead. And that's not going to stop. But we just remember, with each cycle, we gain new hodlers. With each cycle, there's more people that are now profitable and are now going to hold for the long term. So that's really cool. And I guess, man, it really is Joseph against the world. Like, this guy, it's really him against all of Reuters, all of mainstream Western media. And he seems to be killing it. He seems to be really, really keeping them to their toes. Like, this is how journalism is supposed to be. If somebody gets something wrong, you're supposed to be called out, and then you're supposed to apologize and correct it, right? So Reuters sort of put out some corrections, right? Not exactly as much as we'd like, but I'm just so glad that we have people on the ground like Joseph. This guy is awesome. I highly recommend everybody follow him. His coverage has been absolutely amazing, from China, his coverage from China, Japan, and South Korea. I mean, this guy covers it all. I mean, he really is a true journalist, and one of only about 3 journalists or so in the space, really, that I trust. So definitely recommend everybody check that guy out. And I said this last time that because we talked about South Korea in the last episode as well, and You know, it really, from all the language I'm seeing, it really looks like Bitcoin is too big to fail over there at this point. You don't want to regulate it because there's so many hundreds of thousands of people that want this thing, that want cryptocurrency, that see the value of it, that see these profits being made, that see the jobs that can be created. To see that, you know, the changes that can be made. And so I don't see it going away anytime soon. As, you know, Joseph continues to tweet, I'm just more and more bullish on Bitcoin in South Korea, as well as Japan, and even in China. I mean, you know, you can't ignore this thing forever. Even if that means that China has to, you know, take over everything, right? Like all the mining, and the government has to take over all that, subsidize all that stuff, whatever. It's still good for Bitcoin because they can't stop Bitcoin, but they can help secure Bitcoin. So, you know, and again, we've seen all of the mining equipment move out of China over the past few months, specifically over the past 2 months. We've seen a lot of it move to Canada, to Alaska, to Antarctica, to all sorts of different places, and it will continue, and people will continue to think of more and more intelligent ways, more and more clever ways of getting electricity to be able to facilitate these miners. And, you know, it just, I just hope that we can learn from these. Every time these pumps come, I hope that everybody learns and sees what happens, because that's what I think is happening with all these media cycles. Every time we go through, we get a bunch new hodlers, we learn a bunch new things. We see the tide come out. So we see all the Ponzi schemes. We see how horrible the media covers things. I mean, the horrible media coverage is the whole reason why I started my show in the first place, because was just unbelievably not happy with the mainstream media coverage of Bitcoin. And so, you know, I don't think that's going to change. They're getting slightly better, but it's really not getting a whole lot better. But that's why we're here. And we hope that you guys enjoy the coverage that the World Crypto Network brings to you.
All right, let's move on to the exit question. Simon just defined the order with Japan in the lead, South Korea in the middle, and China falling behind. I ask you, is this order fixed and permanent? Will Japan always be the leader? Or is it still possible for South Korea and China to change their function, to change their regulatory ideas, and to catch up? Simon Dixon.
Nothing is ever fixed in Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. So I guarantee you within 6 months that what looked like fixed, Japan, South Korea, China, even South Korea, that came out of nowhere. No one saw that coming. You know, China was there. Suddenly South Korea's there out of nowhere. No one saw that. And that happens in the world of crypto. That's why this is the most exciting industry to be involved with. And that's why you guys every single week have new content, because every single week, you know, everything changes.
Jeffrey Jones, same question.
Yeah, education is paramount. You know, keep following people like us, World Crypto Network, and we'll all get through this craziness together.
Well, I had some interesting comments this week on the Bitcoin talk show. I had said something like, China will change their mind. China will come back to cryptocurrency. And people got upset. They said, what if a girl says she doesn't want to date you anymore? She says she's moving on. Is she going to come back to you? And I don't think those two things are exactly the same. I would say that the China and Bitcoin situation is a lot more like Carthage and Rome. Carthage and Hannibal with his elephants were marauding through Rome and Switzerland, and they were taking over cities. And when he rolled into the city would take down their Roman banners, and they'd put up their Carthage banners, and they'd say, Hannibal is great. And then Hannibal would roll on to the next city, and everyone would take down their Carthage banners and put back up their Roman banners, because they knew that Rome was going to be there forever, that Rome was a considerable and constant problem to them. It was a large institution. And I think that's what Bitcoin is. Bitcoin is this large institution of cryptocurrency. And someone like China can say no today, but cryptocurrency is going to be back at their gate tomorrow. And that's why it really is. It's a force. It's a wave. It's a huge, huge event, like the internet, like the MP3, like exchanging data. It's something you can try to ignore, and you can try to put Pandora back and put all the things back in the box, but you never really can. But let's move on to predictions or story of the week. Jeffrey Jones, are you ready with a prediction or a story of the week?
Yeah, a couple stories. I'm just really happy again to see all this technology being coming forth for Bitcoin in 2018. So many papers being released, so many things being worked on. One in particular, the Schnorr paper, that was just released to help for scalability and optimization. It was penned by, of course, some of the great Bitcoin developers, Gregory Maxwell, Peter Woolley. And, super excited to what Schnorr is going to be able to bring. I mean, man, when you combine that with Lightning, you have some amazingly scalable technology there, amazingly scalable technology. And this is really, really going to be huge going forward. So unfortunately, it's a little bit in the distance. Schnorr is in the distance, but hey, these papers are being written now. They're being talked about now. The technology is being built now. So I'm very much looking forward to Schnorr signatures with combined with Lightning. So very, very amazing tech. Also, this Sunday, I will be interviewing Mr. Christian Decker on the Bitcoin News Show this Sunday at noon Pacific. We will be demoing the new Lightning Charge technology from Blockstream that they just released today, or this week, where we will actually demo live purchasing a product from the Blockstream store with Lightning. So we're really excited about that to show everybody that and see how fast it is, because I don't know if you guys have saw some of the Twitter videos out there, maybe from people like Jack Mallers and such, but wow, Lightning is fast. It is really, really fast, and it is almost zero fee. It's incredible technology. This is really what everybody wants, right? This is the dream of Bitcoin, and we're now at the cusp of this becoming a reality. And in my opinion, Lightning really will, by the end of the year, be incorporated into almost everybody's technology stack. And then so that next year, I mean, as soon as you start out, if you just come to the space in January of 2019, I mean, everything is going to support Lightning. You're going to have decentralized exchanges. You're going to have the halving the year after. I mean, wow. If you come into Bitcoin in 2019, you're going to be a happy, happy camper.
Great stuff, Jeff. And people have been asking for a Lightning demonstration. So be sure to check out that interview this weekend right here on the World Crypto Network. You can subscribe down below. Also, they have a little bell next to the subscriptions. If you click that, it'll send you a notification when we're on the air. It's great to do. Simon, any story of the week or a prediction? Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just supercharged for 2018. I'm really excited about some of the things. I should disclaim many of the projects I talk about, I am an investor in, so please take it as the self-interest there. But we've had today, Kim, I put a tweet out there, Kim.com, who's been working on a project for several years that's had several delays. But he's now said that he's building BitCash, which was the name before Bitcoin Cash. And I look forward to all the stories and puns and everything that comes from that. But
you can't steal their name. You can't steal the name of Bcash. That's not fair.
Well, it was his first. They stole it from him. But BitCash is building on the Lightning Network, so they've announced that today. And what else have we got? We'll have some announcements with RSK. Diego from RSK is on our advisory board, and this year we're really excited that we're bringing tokenized securities to the market. So we've got equity in over 100 of the most valuable companies in this industry, and we're launching our equity-backed tokenized securities market. So we can have ICOs that are actually securities, and they are actually equity, and they do represent some ownership, and it follows some of the rules. So we're really excited to use some of the licenses that we've accumulated over the years to support the industry, and hopefully bring a new product to market.
Jeffrey Jones, you have a question for Simon? Go ahead.
Yeah, just a quick question, Simon. You guys, you said you announced that BitCash is working with Lightning, and by that, do you mean that they are working with the 1.0 specification that was released just recently, end of last year, so that all of the three Lightning teams could all kind of work together? So does BitCash actually use that 1.0 Lightning specification?
That's what they've been working on, and that's what they're building. So yeah, they're looking to fully utilize the Lightning Network, and it's kind of like, they had so many delays, but now this actually got released, and they decided that this was something worth waiting for. I'm really excited to see what someone like Kim.com and the traction he can bring to a product like this, and his experience of building products that people use. And Lightning Network was the piece of technology that they were missing that allowed them to do this. So it's really exciting.
It's great stuff, and it's great to see them move from they were going to just do normal Bitcoin. Then people were saying, oh, they could do Litecoin or they could do Bcash, to see them take on the Lightning Network. Because that's really, if you want to develop something long term that people are going to use, you have to go to the top of the stack. You have to use the best programming available. If you want to send files around, you better include BitTorrent. You can't just ignore it and pretend it doesn't exist. Make your own version of BitTorrent. It's not going to be as good. It's all better if we work together and use the open source solutions that we have. So that's great to hear. My story of the week, it was Wednesday. I was running late for the Today in Bitcoin show, so I decided, why not bring back Bitcoin Talk Show? So I did. The first day, I just talked with the chat room, and we just had a discussion back and forth. And the second and third days, I've been able to get Skype working, and you can Skype us directly at World Crypto Network, all one word. And we've just had a great discussion this week with the audience. People in South Africa, Persian Gulf, Finland, Los Angeles, Atlanta, all over the world have been calling us and giving us their thoughts about Bitcoin. We've been sharing it and having a discussion, and I think that's been a lot of fun, and we're going to try to keep that going next week. We're hoping to have maybe some World Crypto Network repeats for you tomorrow, just recapping the last couple weeks of shows as a Saturday type event. We don't have another show on Saturday yet. We think that might be kind of fun. And we're just continually working in the World Crypto Network Slack to bring you new shows, to get new commentaries. We have a lot of great interviews from Andy Hoffman. He did an audio blog this week. And then we have Jeffrey Jones with the Bitcoin News Show coming up on Sunday. So a lot of great new stuff from World Crypto Network. Be sure to subscribe down below. Give us a thumbs up and a share. And that's about it for this episode of the Bitcoin Group. If you've got some extra Bitcoin jangling around your wallet and you want to send us a donation, you can scan the QR code right there on your screen. It is a SegWit address, I've told, and that makes it better. So thanks so much for watching. Until next time, bye-bye.